Dear all, in our previous lecture, we had seen the different types of fuel systems that are available in automobiles. Starting from the old carburetor system, we learned about the single point fuel injection, or also known as the throttle body injection, then multi-point or multi-port fuel injection, then the advanced gasoline direct injection technique, and finally the advanced fuel injection system in diesel engines, that is common rail direct injection method. And we had seen the difference between the carburetor system and the fuel injection system. In today's lecture, we will see two devices that actually help to increase the power output of an automobile. They are supercharger and turbocharger. So supercharging and turbocharging are the processes which are done by a supercharger and turbocharger. So let us see in detail what a supercharger is and what a turbocharger is, and how they bring about an increase in power in an automobile. So you can see in figure supercharger, and this is the turbocharger. Supercharger usually has a peculiar centrifugal pump or a centrifugal compressor type shape, and turbocharger usually looks like this. There are many other shapes also. So before we move on to study the different methods by which we can increase the power in an automobile, let us see what a naturally aspirated engine means. Naturally aspirated engine is usually the ordinary engine in which the air is or the air fuel mixture is taken into the engine cylinder by natural method. That is, when the piston moves from the top dead center to the bottom dead center, a vacuum is created inside the engine cylinder so that air or air fuel mixture from the surroundings will move into the engine cylinder due to low pressure that is created. So since air is present at atmospheric pressure in the surroundings, and when low pressure is created inside the engine cylinder, the air has a tendency to flow from the surroundings into the engine cylinder. So in this process, or if we consider this process, the flow of air is automatic and we don't use any other device to force the air or the air fuel mixture into the engine cylinder. And such type of engines are known as naturally aspirated engines, because naturally in the sense the flow of air, it occurs automatically. So for such engines, if we want a larger power output, then we need to create a larger engine displacement. So when the displacement is large, the engine will produce larger power output. And also if we increase the engine size, the power output will be more. So this will increase the cost of the engine, when we need a larger power output, we need to make a larger engine with greater displacement. And the advantage of naturally aspirated engines is that we don't have any other mechanical systems for taking in air or forcing air into the engine cylinder, and therefore the system is easy to maintain and it is very simple. So that is naturally aspirated engine. Now let's see what is a turbocharger and a supercharger. Turbocharger and superchargers are used to increase the power output of the engine. So how do we increase the power output of the engine? That is by admitting air into the engine cylinder at a high pressure. So when high pressure air is pumped into the engine cylinder, there is more quantity of air, and so that more quantity of fuel can be burned within the engine cylinder and more combustion can occur within the engine cylinder. So this will increase the power output of the engine. So instead of building a bigger engine, like in the case of a naturally aspirated engine, we can use the technique of turbocharging or supercharging to produce more power. So in both these techniques, turbocharging and supercharging, what we do is we try to admit more air into the engine cylinder. Pressurized air is drawn into the engine or is forced into the engine cylinder, and therefore more fuel is allowed to burn and more power output is obtained. Now let us see what a supercharger is. Supercharger is actually a compressor, an air compressor which compresses air to higher pressure. And how does the supercharger compress the air? So supercharger has a compressor unit which is actually linked to the engine's crankshaft by means of belt or a gear or a chain arrangement. So whenever the crankshaft rotates, the supercharging unit, the compressor unit also rotates at high speed and it compresses the air. So this air, after being compressed to high pressure, is taken into the engine cylinder through the inlet manifold, and this high pressure air after reaching the engine cylinder, it will undergo combustion. So that is how the supercharger works. Let us see the working diagram. Here you have the engine and the crankshaft. So one end of the crankshaft will be attached to a belt drive which drives a compressor unit. So this compressor unit takes in fresh air from the surroundings and compresses the air that is taken in. So usually centrifugal type of compressors are used in both superchargers and turbochargers. So this compressed air is again admitted through the inlet manifold of the engine into the engine cylinder. So this pressurized air, high pressure air, is taken into the engine cylinder and due to the high pressure, due to large density of air, we will be able to burn more fuel and thereby produce more quantity of power within the engine cylinder. So what is the purpose of supercharging? Supercharging increases the pressure, that is, it increases the density of air charge before it enters the cylinder. And due to this, as we mentioned earlier, more quantity of fuel can be burned, more complete combustion can occur, and therefore the power output of the engine can be increased. It also increases the volumetric efficiency of the engine because the utilization of air is actually more when compared to the systems where there are no superchargers. So as the quantity of air increases, the power output also increases accordingly. So therefore, supercharging will increase volumetric efficiency. But the problem is supercharging, because it is taking the power from the crankshaft, it will decrease the fuel efficiency of the engine considerably. So there won't be any fuel efficiency, and this type of process, that is supercharging, is used in vehicles, in only high performance vehicles like for rallies, for racing cars, etc. Only in such high performance vehicles we use supercharging, where we don't have to bother about mileage or the fuel efficiency. What we are bothered about is only the power output. So supercharging will give you or give the vehicle instantaneous and large power output, whereas in the normal condition we won't be able to obtain that much power output. So there are certain things which are the characteristics of supercharging in an engine. So supercharging will increase the power output of an engine. It will also decrease the fuel efficiency. So engines should be designed to withstand higher forces due to supercharging, because during supercharging, high pressure air is taken into the engine cylinder, and therefore when high pressure air is forced into the engine cylinder, it will create certain forces inside the engine cylinder. So the engine should be designed in such a way that it can withstand all these forces produced due to supercharging. Then there will be increased temperature and pressure due to the supercharging, and since complete combustion of the air or the air fuel mixture takes place, the temperature produced within or inside the engine cylinder is also very high. So it can lead to detonation due to high temperature and pressure, and therefore to reduce detonation or knocking, the fuel should have anti-knocking characteristics. So we use or we add certain anti-knock agents or anti-knock elements to the fuel to reduce the knocking or detonation that happens during the combustion process. Certain percentage of power is consumed from the engine because the supercharger takes the input power from the crankshaft by means of belts or shafts or gears, etc. So this will reduce the efficiency of supercharging. of the engine because the power is taken directly from the crankshaft. So there is a power loss. But even if there is a power loss, if we see the overall power output that is given, supercharging will give a larger power output than a natural aspirated engine. That is an engine which does not have any supercharging or any turbocharging capabilities. So the power output will be more, and it is usually used in only high performance engines. There are mainly two types of superchargers according to the type of compression. So the one is positive displacement type and the second is dynamic compressor. So positive displacement type of superchargers, they give a constant level of pressure increase at all engine RPMs, whereas dynamic compressors, they give more pressure when the engine speed is high. So that is the difference between positive displacement and dynamic compressors. Now certain limitations of superchargers. The thermal load on the parts of the engine, on the various parts of the engine increases because of first the high temperature that is developed during the combustion process. Since there is more air, more combustion occurs and more temperature will occur. So there is a chance of thermal load. Then the durability, reliability and fuel economy, they will decrease. Durability and reliability decreases because a separate mechanical component is used for taking in air compared to other systems. So when we are taking another mechanical component or when we are adding another mechanical component, obviously there will be certain loss of efficiency, and also the durability and reliability of such parts will be less because they will need frequent service. And fuel economy, as we mentioned, it will be less because power is taken directly from the engine crankshaft. Then increased heat generation and heat transfer occurs in supercharging, and therefore there is a greater chance to burn the piston crown, the seat and edges of the exhaust valve. So when high temperature is developed, such damages can occur. Now let us check the second method of increasing the engine power output, that is turbocharging. So turbocharging is the most commonly used technique for increasing the power output of a given sized engine. A turbocharger, again, it is actually a compressor. It is a centrifugal compressor and it consists of a centrifugal compressor and a turbine unit. So there is a compressor and there is a turbine, and both of these together are attached by a single shaft. So when the turbine rotates, it will rotate the centrifugal compressor blades also, because the turbine and the compressor blades are attached together by means of a shaft. Now, in the case of turbocharging, the turbocharger actually works based on the engine exhaust gases. So in this figure you can see this is the engine. The exhaust gases are taken through a pipe or a mechanism to the turbine blades of the turbocharger. So the exhaust gases, they move out through the exhaust manifold and they are taken to the turbocharger blade. So due to the high speed, the high velocity and high temperature exhaust gases coming and hitting the turbocharger blades, the turbocharger or the turbine blades of the turbocharger, it will start to rotate, and when this rotates, since the compressor unit is also linked to the turbine unit by means of a shaft, so when this rotates, the compressor blades also rotate at a high RPM. And when compressor blades rotate, it will compress the air present inside the chamber, and this air is moved through an air cooler system known as the intercooler. So the function of intercooler is to reduce the temperature of air to a greater extent. So when compression takes place, some heat will be generated, and that heat is absorbed by the intercooler or the air cooler that is kept. So the high pressure air at low temperature will be again taken into the intake of the engine. So when it reaches the intake side, the temperature of the air is less, it will cool the combustion chamber, and also since it is high pressure air, or if it is high pressure air or the air fuel mixture, more complete combustion will occur inside the engine cylinder during the combustion stroke, during the working stroke. So that is the function of turbocharger. So turbocharger usually works on the basis of the exhaust gases taken from the engine cylinder, and it will rotate the turbine blades of the turbocharger, which in turn rotates the compressor blades, and the compressor blades, when rotate, it will take in air and it will compress the air, which is again cooled to a lower temperature by an intercooler or an air cooler, and the cool compressed air is taken into the engine cylinder through the inlet manifold. So this is the function of turbocharger. So there are mainly three components of turbocharger. One is a turbine. Turbine is usually a radial inflow turbine. We have the turbine here. Then we have the compressor unit, which is a centrifugal compressor. And then we have a center housing or a hub rotating assembly which connects both the turbine and the compressor. So in a turbocharger, the compressor vanes are rotated by rotating the turbine blades, whereas in the case of supercharging, the compressor blades are rotated by or from the energy of crankshaft. The crankshaft will be connected to the compressor blades by means of gears or shafts or belts. But in this case, there is no connection with the crankshaft. Only the hot exhaust gases will come, and when it hits the turbine blades, it will rotate, and this in turn will rotate the compressor blades also. Now, what are the objectives of a turbocharger? So the objective is to increase the volumetric efficiency by increasing the density, intake density of air. The compressor draws or takes ambient air, it compresses the air before it enters into the intake manifold, and it is compressed to a higher pressure, and greater quantity of air will be thus entering into the cylinder during the intake stroke. The power needed to spin the centrifugal compressor is derived from the high pressure and temperature of the engine's exhaust gases that we mentioned. And the turbine converts the exhaust gases, potential energy, pressure energy, and kinetic energy into rotational power. And this is in turn used to drive the compressor. So the turbine rotates, and due to the rotation of the turbine, it will rotate the compressor also. Now the diagram of turbocharging principle. So here you can see, as we mentioned earlier, the exhaust gases are taken to the turbine, and due to the exhaust gas energy, the turbine rotates, and the turbine is connected to the compressor blades through a central hub, and the compressor blades rotate by taking in air. So this is a radial flow, this is a centrifugal type compressor. So it will take in air and compress the air, and this compressed air is allowed to pass through an air cooler so that the temperature of the air is decreased. And this air is admitted into the engine cylinder at high pressure and lower temperature during the suction stroke. So the advantage of turbocharging is that the engine can work at a higher power density without increasing the thermal load. So there is no thermal load on the engine. At the same time, more power output can be obtained. So that is the principle of turbocharging. Now, what is turbo lag? So in turbocharged engines or turbocharged vehicles, when we press the accelerator pedal, there won't be much significant increase of power. So the driver, when he is applying the accelerator while driving at low speeds, the vehicle will take some time to accelerate. So there will be some lag of power. So this lag of power is known as turbo lag. This is because at first, during the start of the engine, sufficient quantity of exhaust gases will not be available to the engine cylinder. So when sufficient quantity of the smoke or the exhaust gases is not available in the engine cylinder, it cannot rotate the turbine fully, and therefore the air compressor will also not work properly. There won't be proper working of air compressor, and so the inlet air that is given into the inlet manifold will not have compressed air. So it will work as a normal engine. But when the RPM increases, when the running speed increases, exhaust gases will be produced in sufficient quantity, and this exhaust gases will help in turning or rotating the turbine blades at a very high speed. So when turbine blades rotate, it will also rotate the compressor blades, because both of these are attached together. So compressor blades, when it rotates at high speed, it will compress the air to high temperature and pressure, and this high temperature and high pressure air, it will be taken into the engine cylinder and it will undergo combustion. So during this process, when at high RPMs there won't be much lag of power. So whenever the driver presses the accelerator pedal at higher RPMs, a quick power boost is obtained due to the turbocharging process. But at low speeds, this power will not be there, and even if the driver presses the pedal, much power increase will not be noticed. So this lag of power for a certain small time period is known as turbo lag. So turbocharging can be achieved only when the engine is running above a certain RPM, and this is known as boost threshold. So that is a minimum energy above which the engine should run, or the engine should produce for that, so that the turbocharging can be activated. That is known as boost threshold. So turbo lag, it is the time required to change the power output in a response to a throttle change. So whenever there is a throttle change, there should be a corresponding power output in the response. It should be either increase or decrease. So if there is a time lag, then we call that as a turbo lag. Then for a typical supercharged or a turbocharged engine, the compressor pressure ratios can be reached up to 3.5, and the brake mean effective pressure, the BMEP of the engine, can be up to 22 bar pressure. So turbocharging and supercharging are two different methods by which the power output of the engine can be increased sufficiently or adequately. But there are certain limitations for both these techniques. That is, the compressor should be designed appropriately so that the air, after being compressed properly, it will deliver the compressed air to the inlet manifold, and also the effectiveness with which the compressor can compress the air, that is also a limitation. So the design of the compressor should be in such a way that the compressor can compress air to a relatively higher pressure. Then the second limitation is cylinder peak pressure. So very high pressures can be reached by turbocharging or supercharging. So the cylinder should be designed in such a way that it should withstand such high pressure. If the design is not adequate, then the engine cylinder will undergo a lot of damage due to very high pressures. Then the third limitation is, as we mentioned, since greater quantity of air is available for burning the fuel, huge quantity of heat is produced, and due to this high temperature, very high temperature, nitrous oxide emissions will increase. So whenever in an internal combustion engine, when the temperature of combustion increases, the corresponding nitrous oxide emissions also increase, because nitrous oxide emissions, they are proportional to the heat that is developed within the engine. So that is about the turbocharging and supercharging processes or techniques used in automobiles. The most commonly used type of charging as turbocharging. The commonly used type of pressurized air induction method is turbocharging. We can find it commonly in mostly diesel engines. Supercharged engines are much more costlier and can be seen only in high performance vehicles, such as vehicles used for rallies and for sports racing purposes, etc. That is because since the supercharged vehicles, as we mentioned, the supercharging component is connected directly to the engine crankshaft. So when the engine crankshaft speed increases, at the same time the compressor speed also increases, and the quantity of pressurized air that is sent back to the engine also increases. So therefore it will produce a much more better power output than the turbocharged engine. But the only problem is supercharged engines are used for high-end purposes. They have low fuel efficiency. Whereas a turbocharged engine, it makes use of exhaust gases itself, so no additional energy requirement is there, so it is much more efficient, and it is most commonly used for the common type diesel engines, and it is not used in any high performance vehicles. Only supercharged engines are used in high performance vehicles. So with that we come to the end of this lecture. Thank you.